it bothers the hell out of me that there are so many of these cases that are sort of popping up, especially in Texas. But hey, it is what it is. I've already done a video talking about Shelley Luther, who is out of Dallas, Texas, and basically refused to close down her shop, which she reopened to try to, make some money so she can feed her folk, but as well as the salon workers can feed their folk and work voluntarily and assume their risk voluntarily. And she was put in jail. I talked about the little cocky judge who demanded that she apologize, because acting like the elected officials were the ones that were the victims there. And I've talked about that, but we have another one, which I read about earlier, but I think it's, I never covered it. Okay. This actually, I think I read about this one before the Shelley case. And I want to just highlight it real quick, just for the sake of the video. It's also out of Texas, which is, again, closer to where I'm at. It's also in a place that I lived around at one point, in Laredo. So let's just go right into it. So what happened is two women were basically running a salon out of the house to make money. So they give manicures and whatnot out of their house. So apparently they violated the stay-at-home orders. Obviously meeting with people and doing these out of their house. And the way that they got caught is so criminal. Say Anna Isabel Castro was arrested. She agreed and met with an undercover officer. So it was a sting. And they were tipped by their neighbors. So the neighbors snitched on them. This is what happened. Their neighbor snitched on them. And then there was a sting. Basically, they were posing as people that wanted to, the cops were, to get the manicures. And this is what happened. So they both the violators independently solicited customers via social media on both cases. An undercover officer working on this task force enforcement detail made contact with each solicitor to set up an appointment for a cosmetic beauty service that is prohibited under the emergency ordinance. And this is like that pretty much in all areas in Texas. I believe some of it gets lifted, at least in some capacity, this Friday, if I'm not mistaken. But certainly when this took place in April, it's pretty much the same in a lot of areas where the salons were, the spas, parlors, pretty much all of them were closed down. And they were not allowed to reopen even when the reopened Texas thing, when people were able to open at 25% capacity starting on the 1st, I believe, this month. Salons were not one of them. So that's an important thing to document. So Anna Isabel Castro was arrested. And yeah, it's just second. There's another case here. The second case is Brenda. She's 31-year-old and a 21-year-old. You have Annabelle Isabel Castro-Garcia. And then you have Brenda Stephanie Mata. She allegedly agreed to perform an eyelash service inside her residence for an undercover officer posing as a customer. So they were both charged with a violation of an emergency management plan, a Class B misdemeanor that carries a punishment up to 180 days in jail, a $2,000 fine, or both. So basically, these people are risking, and I don't have an update for this yet. $2,000 fine, 180 days in jail, and or basically one or the other or both, which is insane. Just because they wanted to, people wanted to, get their eyelashes done, and their, cosmetic. Like, this is insane, and unfortunately, it got buried. I forgot to talk about it. But it got buried mainly because it's not in Dallas, right? Shelley was, she was obviously making it a big deal out of it. And she's also in a more She's in the hub, right? She's in D-Town, you know what I mean? But they are in Laredo, and this kind of got buried, and I wanted to amplify that. Yeah, this type of stuff is going, it's happening to a lot of different people, and it's sad. It's really sad that this is what it's come down to. Where, again, even back then in April, we knew the studies were out about my birthday, which was on the 17th. So even back in April, we knew that was just one of them out of Santa Clara County. We knew that this wasn't as nearly as dangerous as what was initially said. And here we are, still kicking the can down the road. A lot of places are trying to reopen, but they're like, oh, well, we're going to do it slowly, right? They didn't shut it down slowly, but they're going to do it slowly in terms of this reopening. You got to follow all these rules, certain capacity, and all sorts of stuff. And then some areas are just the shelter-in-place orders have been extended in some places throughout the country. And just people wanting to voluntarily get their hair done, and so forth, nails, all sorts of things. They cannot get those done because you have neighbors snitching on them, and cops doing stinks. Or they have just salon stores and they're just remaining open. It's just unbelievable. Now, y'all already know where I'm at with the law enforcement officers that enforce this crap. Those guys were especially buttholes for doing that. They're going through, I mean, it's in Laredo too, man. So there's plenty of other things they could have been doing, but instead they're doing this. Like, I hope if anything at all, and I did a whole stream on this, or anything at all, the quote unquote conservatives, hopefully they got red pilled on who the cops really side with, as your entire country is, for the most part, and well, in some capacity on a lockdown, different than others. But there's this mass form of a lockdown in the country, and who's front lines enforcing these? Who's front lines doing the stings? Who's front lines arresting people? It's these cops, man. They are not and then the good ones that you claim, well, it's not all cops. Some have refused. The good ones aren't the ones out there actually preventing the people from being arrested, are they? Maybe it's not as many of them as you think. And that's probably going to get my video downvoted, but I don't care. It's getting old. The evidence is clear as day. As it stands right now, it's not as dangerous. The virus is not as dangerous. And certainly, there's not a good trade-off to have 30 million plus people out of work, unable to really understand when they're going to be able to they don't know. They have no idea. Like, when am I going to have enough money to pay for my other bills? The economy is interconnected. You cannot just shut down what you deem as essential. You're starting to see some meat shortages now as well, in certain areas. You're starting to see that this thing is interconnected, which is what I've been saying for months. It's not, you don't get to just hit a light switch on certain areas or certain work demographics and just say, all right, well, y'all shut down and then we'll just leave the other ones up and everything's going to be fine. No, that's not how it works. That's not how it works. And this is the thing that's so frustrating about this is that these fools keep moving the goalposts. Media pundits and blue check marks done videos on this, went from flatten the curve, which was supposed to spread out the number of infected really over time so you didn't overwhelm the hospitals, to now all of a sudden we're talking about eradicating, and everybody cares so much about deaths. We're talking about eradicating the entire virus, right? That's why we can't reopen, because people might die. Well, that was always assumed that flatten the curve had nothing to do with that. Flatten the curve had everything to do with spreading it out over time. So why did the goalposts move and we're still having to remain shut down? Why is that? Why did you move the post? Since when did it go from, okay, we just want to spread it out over time, to, okay, completely eradicate the virus, which doesn't look to be possible at this point. And send people to jail that want to do hair, nails, toes, eyelashes, whatever. It's just insane. It's just insane. Cops involved should be ashamed of themselves. Everybody that advocates these lockdowns should be ashamed of themselves. And I'm going to end on this note. I say it time and time again, though. Ease of restrictions does not mean that you are forced to go outside. It means that you can't force everybody else to stay inside, shelter in place, not be able to open up for business if they want to assume the risk voluntarily. Simple as that. So if you want to stay your behind inside, post ease of restrictions, that is fine. Nobody's forcing you to go outside. Simple.